Hello traders, welcome to the weekly Ichimoku wrap-up for the week ending, January 15th, 2016. I was hoping, I actually made this video earlier this evening prior to the market opening, but I used Ticker TV, which unfortunately is not quite back yet. I'm happy to announce that Ticker TV is back online, which is really fantastic because I really enjoyed sharing my work with you guys live, and it's a really convenient way to do so. But unfortunately, there's some technology issues thus far, so I wasn't able to make my video that way or even stream live, although maybe someone of you caught my live streaming and caught the audio, but the video was not working correctly. So regardless, I'm doing the video again. The reason I'm even mentioning this is because I like to make my weekly videos before the new candle opens up. So we're just clear on which candle we're analyzing. I'm analyzing closed candles, not the open candles that are currently being bought, or being created. So you can see from this chart what I'm talking about. Let me zoom in a bit. So the candle I'm going to be analyzing is the candle that happened last week and not the new candle that's just starting out. So let's just jump in. We're looking at the ES here. We see that the ES in Ichimoku terms is bearish, fully bearish. It's under the cloud, and the Chikou is also under the cloud. And underneath the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. We do note, however, that the Tenkan-sen now has a bear cross. That wasn't really clear last week when the, before the new candle opened, both of the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen were together, so that wasn't really clear. As far as mean reversion goes, and whether or not we can expect a bounce here, this 1880 level, it was obviously important. I made note of that level based on looking at prior support and resistance levels. We also can look at the RSI to see if we are overbought or oversold, and we are not really oversold. We're getting kind of close to oversold on the weekly time frame, but not really, so that's not enough to indicate a bounce. But one thing that we do have as far as the potential for indicating the potential for a bounce is a pretty big bottoming tail. Let's see, that's the low was put in at 1849.25, and we put in the close at 1876. So that's about 26, 27 points off the low. So that's a pretty significant bottoming tail on last week's candle. But so as far as whether or not we can get a trend change to the upside, we need to look for a higher high and a higher low in order to confirm that. So we're going to need to put in a high over the high of last week's candle, which was 1946.50. So that's a pretty significant move from here, since we're now trading, under 1900. That's about all I have to say for the ES. We do have a flat cloud above, and in Ichimoku, wherever there's a flat, there is the potential for price to be attracted back towards the flat, but we really need to get some momentum to the upside for the flat to really start being attractive. I like to think of flats in Ichimoku as magnets. The closer you get to them, the more attractive they become. All right, so let's go over CL next, and then we will go over the rest of the US indexes. So CL is quite bearish. You can see these purple lines here are lines that I drew based on prior support and resistance from a real long time ago. Let me just flip to the monthly, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I found these levels, back in the 2000s, the early 2000s. I think this the lower 28.8 level is from back in the beginning of the 2000s. So we're looking at really old levels of support. This 33.20 level was the prior low from 2009, and that did not hold, so we're moving even lower here. On the monthly time frame, since while we're here on the monthly time frame, we can see that we are oversold on the monthly time frame. You know, RSI isn't the bee's knees because things can always become more overbought or oversold. But being oversold on the monthly time frame is pretty significant. It doesn't happen very often, and when we do see oversold or overbought conditions on such a long time frame chart, there's usually some reaction. You can see back here at the beginning of 2015 or the end of 2014, we were in oversold RSI conditions, and we did manage to get this bounce here, which backed off the oversold condition, but the bounce only went to the Tenkan Sen, and then we got what I like to call the Tenkan smackdown, meaning price was unable to get over the Tenkan Sen on the monthly time frame. So it was just basically a bear flag bounce, oversold bounce that got sold once again. We did sort of come down and try to almost get oversold again, went sideways, caught another little bit of a bounce that got rejected once again right here in October of last year at the Tenkan Sen, and we've been basically selling ever since then. And you can see back here when we got overbought, when we were up here at the highs, then we had a strong reaction to that overbought, or in general, obviously just price was not going any higher. I wasn't trading crude yet back in these days myself, but I was trading crude in these days in 2011, and I remember very clearly at this point in time, people were extremely bullish crude. They're fully expecting it to go back up to make new highs. You know, everybody was talking about peak oil, et cetera, and nobody was really bearish, but I was bearish because there was there was a very clear triangle pattern that was happening there too as well. But regardless, let's go back to the weekly and spend a little bit more time looking at crude on the weekly. Although spending a little bit more time might not get us anywhere because who knows where it's going to stop selling. You see on the weekly we are also oversold. However, we do see that the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen are starting to flatten out. That is a new condition that is brought on by this new candle opening up, so we wouldn't have necessarily seen that if I had made my video prior to the new candle opening up, because the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen were still at in steep down sloping mode. So we have a little bit of extra information because it's, you know, the new candle has opened up, that we see these starting to move a little bit more horizontally than straight down. So that's a sign of mean reversion and things wanting to get a little bit of bounce. So, we did put in a new low tonight, so we'll see what happens in the future, whether we I can't predict what's going to happen. Nobody can really. Well, anyway, I'll leave it at that. All right, let's go back to the U.S. indexes. I can only say what will happen if things happen. So if we do get a bounce, it's going to be limited at this 36.41 level where the Tenkan Sen is now. That's so far away from now that we'd have to get a really significant bounce for that to happen. So, all right, let's look at the Dow. Dow is fully bearish. Price action is under the cloud, under the Tenkan Sen, under the Kijun Sen. We do note, however, that the Tenkan Sen has gone flat on the new candle, which suggests potential for mean reversion. We do have a significant bottoming tail like we did on the ES. So we could get a bounce here from the Dow. In fact, we are getting a bounce in the new candle, but the bounce could be, if we do get going on the bounce, we can see we have prior resistance levels at last week's close, obviously. That's around 15,937. Then we have this prior level of support at around, let's see exactly, that was 16,090. So keep an eye on that 16,090 level. Then we have some, other significant areas of potential support or resistance up around 16 to 65, something like that. But ultimately, we're looking at the Kijun-sen to offer potential resistance at 16,596. So that would be a pretty powerful bounce on the Dow if we did get all the way back to the Kijun-sen. Then if we did move past the Kijun-sen, then we would definitely be attracted to the flat Tenkan-sen above. So do be aware if we do get over that 16,600 level, we would definitely be gunning for that 16,827 level. But that's a very small amount of price compared to what we have going to get up here. You know, that's probably eyeballing that looks like a fifth of the way of the range between the lows down here and the Tenkan-sen. So overall bearish in Ichimoku terms though until you know, we're still going to be bearish until we get back into the cloud technically and officially, which is up here at the 17,045 level. So quite a ways to go to get even back to neutral territory on the Dow. Let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ has been, you know, holding up better than the other indexes. We see here that we did put in a close last week underneath the weekly cloud, so we went from being neutral in Ichimoku terms to bearish. We are now still down here below the cloud. We do have the cloud offering support to the Chikou. This red line here is the Chikou. The Chikou represents price time shifted 26 periods into the past, in case you are new to my videos and you did not know that. So 26 weeks in this case. And when we tonight's candle opened up and you know we got a gap down tonight. When the candle was down at the lows, which were 4107.5, that's pretty much exactly, if you can, here, let me go over here. That's exactly where the Chikou found support at the cloud. So if you had this information, if you were, you know, watching your Ichimoku charts, you would have bought that level. Seeing that cloud support and seeing the Chikou test that would have been an excellent buy setup. I apologize for not telling you earlier. I tried to, but my technology didn't allow me to. So as far as the bounce going higher, we do have the prior close as offering potential resistance at 41, 45, 75. And above that, we have this very nice area of prior support that could offer prior resistance, and that's about at the same level as the cloud. So let's call that 41.85. So if you're interested in shorting the NASDAQ, you might want to look to that 41.85 level as a good area to short. And if we do get above that area, like let's say we get above 4,200, I would expect a higher move up towards the 42.67, 42.68 level. And then if we do get above that level, we could expect potentially for a test of the Kijun-sen up here, all the way up here at 43.23.88. So keep those levels in mind, scribble them down if you want, or learn Ichimoku and have them in front of you. Very handy. All right, Dow, NASDAQ, let's look at the Russell. Russell has been leading us downwards, very doggy. So the Russell is fully bearish and probably the most oversold of all the RSIs. We did, however, get a nice bottom tail on the last week's Russell candle, and we do have a flat Tenkan-sen above, suggesting the potential for a mean reversion bounce higher. How high that bounce will go, we don't know yet. We still are just fully bearish in Ichimoku terms. Pardon the helicopter flying by if that's messing with the audio. We've been having a lot of kind of bad weather around here. Some tornadoes and whatnot. Fortunately not too close to where I live, but targeting the Sarasota area and whatnot. All right, let's move on to some metals. Looking at gold, we see that gold is bearish under the cloud, underneath everything except for the Tenkan-sen. It has found support above the Tenkan-sen, so now we have a very clear trading range for gold. We have a trading range of the Tenkan Sen offering support at 1079.30 and the Kijun Sen offering resistance at 111. At 1,118. 60 above. So we did have some prior resistance at this 11, let's call it 1105, which was also prior support in this area. You can see back in September. We also have potential for finding resistance at the bottom of this candle for the Chikou, and that level is 1098.50. So we could find resistance at that level as well. That's also obviously been a pivotal level. If you can see, by me holding my cursor here, you can see these candles also found resistance at that level. And these candles found support at that level, so that's obviously an important level, that 1098 level. Obviously 1100 is a psychological number, a round number as well. So 1100 is important potential resistance to keep an eye on. If we do get back below the 1079.30 level, then we'll be back to fully bearish in Ichimoku terms for gold, which wouldn't surprise me. Let's look at silver. Well, while we're in this big, you can see how much how much stuff I put on my chart. But that's back when silver was trading way up here. The good old days when silver was actually potentially a bullish trade. So silver's just been dogging it down, making this big kind of ridiculous, crazy range intraday bear flag action. Last week it tried to get bought up to above the 1413 level, put in a high of 1420 and got sold heartily. If you've been watching intraday, you can see the 1408, 1410 area is almost always gets sold. We do have a bit of a bottoming tail, so a little bit of indecision here. Big spinning top doji was what we were dealing with last week. Let me zoom in a little bit. So I expect if we do move higher that we will probably get summarily rejected at the 1413 level. If we do move lower, we can see what happens if we break last week's low, which was at 1373. If we do break last week's low, we have the 1362 of this December low. And beyond that, we could definitely go lower on silver. Let's look at the monthly real quick for fun. You can see it gives you a much better picture of the potential for lower prices. I mean, back in 2008, silver found support down here at 974, thereabouts at the bottom of the cloud. So if you're, a silver permabull or thinking that you could be, you're trying to buy the dip here, I would be extremely cautious. Because we could definitely go a lot lower. I've also been noticing just on I'm sorry I'm being long-winded about silver, but I do trade it. It's one of my main trades. On a fundamental level, I've been noticing more and more that, obviously a lot of industrial processes that use silver have been moving away from using silver, such as the whole photography industry. I've been noticing more and more that a lot of medical and dental operations are going directly to digital for their x-rays, therefore eliminating the need for x-ray film. So, another one bites the dust as far as industrial uses for silver. So, and that's about it. I'll wrap it up and move on to let's go to the Treasury bonds and notes next. Let's look at ZB. This is the monthly still, just because I happen to be on it. So ZB is fully bullish on the monthly time frame, but let's go back to the weekly since this is the weekly Ichimoku wrap-up. So you see we had this triangle, whether or not you like my trend lines or not. It seems like a pretty clear triangle pattern to me. We did get an upside breakout from the triangle pattern last week. Very bullish candle, testing prior highs in this area. And we did get a close above these prior highs around the 150, let's say around the 158.28 level, thereabouts. But we did get a bit of a topping tail, but we're not overbought here or anything like that, so there's no reason to think that we can't go higher. We do have a flat Tenkan Sen below, suggesting potential for a mean reversion. We also have a dip in the cloud, which could potentially attract price lower. You see what's going on right now here, where it looks like we're trying to put in tweezer tops. So, you know, even though the chart is bullish, we might get, you know, if we get some risk on, we should potentially see some retracement down maybe to 157 level, or even as low as the 156.08 Kijun Sen. No, sorry, 156.14 is where the Kijun Sen's at for this week. So we'll see, but still bullish in Ichimoku terms on ZB, perhaps. Anyway, that's about all I'll say. Looking at ZN, we see that we did put also in a significant topping tail on ZN. ZN is not looking, the triangle's quite different on ZN, but and various other aspects of the chart are quite different on ZN, such as we have flat Kijun Sen, flat Tenkan Sen. The Kijun Sen's been flat for quite some time, suggesting the potential for mean reversion lower. We also have a flat cloud, suggesting the potential for mean reversion lower, and the flat Tenkan Sen below. So this chart looks much more like it wants a pullback, or you know, than ZB does. But you know, we can always look that way and still go higher. So, we have to trust the overall weekly bias, which is obviously bullish at this point. Everything, the only thing that's not really bullish about this Ichimoku chart, besides the actual nature of the cloud being kind of flat and thin, is not particularly bullish. In a really bullish trending chart, you want to see a higher and more supportive cloud than we have going on here. This just looks like sideways price action to me. Wouldn't be surprised to see more filling in of the triangle here if we do get some risk on activity. If we do go lower, we can see the Chikou could find support at the cloud here, which would be at the 127.27 level. That's slightly above where the Kijun Sen is here. And also we do note that the Kijun Sen, this pink line is the Kijun Sen, is bear crossed above the Tenkan Sen, so that's not fully bullish. If you want to be real bulled up about the 10-year Treasury notes going higher, you want to see the Tenkan Sen at least pointing up as if it's going towards the potential for a bull cross, and that's not happening right now. All right, let's move along to, let's look at the Nikkei. Nikkei has been very handy leading other markets. We see Nikkei is bearish in Ichimoku terms as price action is under the cloud. We did get a test of last week's, this is actually still last week's candle. The new candle is not open yet for the Nikkei. We see that last week's candle tested inside the cloud and got rejected, and did get a little bit of a bottoming tail put in. We are oversold on the weekly time frame on the Nikkei here. We also have this important Chikou finding support at the top of the cloud here. That is significant. As long as the Chikou continues to find support here, we could get a bounce, and we could see the Chikou putting in a V we'll see where the new candle opens up for the Nikkei. But if we get a little bit of risk on buying support, then we could see a bounce for the Nikkei back towards the flat cloud above. When the new candle opens, also we can see whether the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen start flattening out a bit. Right now they're pointing down quite severely, reflecting the very bearish price action of last week. All right, let's look at the dollar. The dollar, oops, let me remove these. The dollar is, last week's candle put the dollar closing above the Tenkan-sen, so bullish in all ways Ichimoku. The fact that the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen are flat means sideways action. But as long as we remain above the Tenkan-sen, we're still fully bullish. If we do manage to lose the Tenkan-sen, then we can look for trading within the range between the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. The reason that I had those fibs up is I was demonstrating in the last video that I made that failed, which is I was demonstrating that if we do have a wide range, such as, from the Tenkan-sen to the Kijun-sen, we can use fibs to determine levels within that range. I'll just do again what I did in my last video to show you what I'm talking about. I just draw some fibs from the Tenkan-sen here, which is at 98.913, to the Kijun-sen, which is at 96.56. I'm trying to get that close enough. Then we have some other Fibonacci levels to work with. Should the price action get back under the Tenkan-sen, we could look at the 61.8 at 98.014 or 98.01. We could look at the 50% at 97.73. We'll see what happens when we get there. I mean, to see if those levels are significant moving forward. Just a little Ichimoku trick for those of you who like to use Fibonacci's. All right, let's go to, let's look at some grains, shall we? Let's look at corn. I didn't look at the grains last week in my video. And the new candles have not opened up yet. So corn is just still bear flagging under the cloud. This chart is fully bearish. We do have a higher high and a higher low here, so trend changes to the upside. Resistance at the Tenkan-sen at 365.25. So be watching that 365.25 level. That's very important on the weekly time frame for resistance. If we do get over that, we could see higher prices up to other areas of supported resistance. Maybe 372.95 is important. You can just look at horizontal levels from there. So so uptrend, but still bearish for corn. Wheat got the Tenkan smackdown after trying to sell above the Tenkan-sen. It was unable to and got smacked down back to this prior support level. So we do have some tweezer bottoms. We do have an uptrend intact, but the Tenkan-sen at 477.88 is going to be a problem for wheat. So keep an eye on that level. Let's look at oats. Wow. I haven't looked at oats in a while. This is a real bearish chart. The only thing this is about as bearish as it gets. The only thing that would be more bearish is if we closed on the lows. It's interesting though that we're not yet oversold on the RSI on oats, I guess because it's been sort of a slow tumble. But quite very bearish chart here on the oats. Let's look at the soybeans. Soybeans, more like sideways price action, bear flagging under the cloud. We do have a close above the Tenkan-sen last week after putting this potential reversal doji. So trend change to the upside is confirmed with a higher high and a higher low. And it's significant that we did close above the Tenkan-sen, but keep an eye on that 877 level for offering support. If we get back under the 877 level, then I wouldn't be surprised to see some more downside for soybeans. Could be some sort of like bottoming pattern happening here. Wouldn't be, I mean, it's like quite a weird inverse head and shoulders, but you know, it could be, I don't know. It could be a bottoming pattern, even if it's not a perfect inverse head and shoulders. All right. I'm going to look at some livestock for shepherd. Let's look at the live cattle. Live cattle, after coming up and breaking over the Kijun-sen, was unable to close above the Kijun-sen and sold. Then last week sold even more fiercely and put in a close underneath the Tenkan-sen here at 129.925. So that 129.925 level will definitely offer resistance if we do get a move higher for live cattle. And we do have this pretty big gap to fill here below, so I would look for the gap fill as potential support down here. We do have these two tweezer bottoms, perhaps signaling that that's about as low as cattle wants to go. Those were, from the end of last year, though, from December. But so the low or the close on this candle is 125.525. So keep an eye on that level. And then the gap fill level would be, the way I like to look at gap fills would be actually at the open, which would be 125.75. So I would mark down that 125.75 level for potential support on live cattle. And let's look at lean hogs. Lean hogs actually, looking like a bear flag, but the fact that we've gotten several closes above the Tenkan-sen, and the fact that this doji candle did not develop a reversal, we are still in an uptrend with a higher high and a higher low. The Tenkan-sen is tipping up to reflect the price action moving higher, so we could actually see a continued uptrend for hogs being supported by the Tenkan-sen below. So continue to look at the Tenkan-sen as support if we do get a reversal lower, currently at 57.23 or 24.23.8. And if we do continue to move higher, we obviously have this prior resistance level right here, prior support turned resistance at around 64. And then we have the Kijun-sen at 66.68 above, offering resistance if we get even more sustained move higher. But overall, bearish in Ichimoku terms for hogs. Let's look at coffee, and I'll wrap it up and let you go. Bear flagging coffee. Been a lot of oscillation, kind of, trickery and illiquidity, etc. So, but after 2 weeks ago, we closed underneath the Tenkan-sen. That was fully bearish in Ichimoku terms, and indeed we continued to sell off. We did last week put in a bit of a bottoming tail, so it's possible that we might see a smaller trading range. We do have an open body gap up here that we could potentially look to fill at some point in the future. If we do find price moving lower, we could expect potential for support down here around the 112 area again, 112.20 area. I don't know. I mean, this chart, to me, given that the Tenkan-sen is tipping up a little bit higher, it looks like higher is more likely, even though the chart is fully bearish in Ichimoku terms. And that's about it. I might do a separate video for FX at some point. If you are interested in me doing that, please do let me know. And I hope to be back online with Ticker TV, streaming some live analysis throughout the day. That would be really awesome. But so far, they are having some technical difficulties with the broadcasting software, or I'm having some technical difficulties, but obviously other people are too. So not quite ready to get back on board, but really happy to have Ticker TV back online anyway, after losing it last year. If you're interested in if you're interested in learning Ichimoku, I do have some. It's a great time in my chat room. I have some of my regular members are on vacation right now, so I can give more individualized attention to new members at the moment. You can check out more about my service at CloudChartist.com. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching my video. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at CloudChartist if you have any questions, or you can always email me, cloudchartist@gmail.com. Have a great week, and we'll catch you later.